both victim and survivor. The truth nobody wants you to know. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred pause Black women have been waiting for. I'm LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Recently, I had the privilege of sitting down with Amber Cody, a woman whose courage is quietly changing the world. Amber is doing something most people are too afraid to do. She's telling the truth, not the sanitized Instagram ready version of truth, the real, messy, painful, holy kind of truth that makes people uncomfortable and also sets people free. She's a Black mother raising six children with different fathers, and one of those children was conceived through rape and incest. And she's still here, still parenting, still healing, still choosing softness over silence. Amber Cody is proof that survival doesn't have to look perfect to be powerful. And today I want to share what she taught me, what the research confirms, and what we all need to hear. Here's the thing nobody tells you: you can be both a victim and a survivor at the same time. We live in a world that loves a good redemption arc. We want the before and after. We want the moment you got over it. We want the part where you rise from the ashes, dust yourself off, and never look back. But that's not how trauma works. That's not how rape works. That's not how incest works. And that's definitely not how parenting a child conceived through violence works. Living with the reality of rape and incest and raising a child from that violence does not cancel out your strength, your worth, or your right to heal. You do not have to be over it to matter. Surviving can look like simply waking up, parenting your kids, and choosing not to let what was done to you define your future. It can look like going to the grocery store, helping with homework, paying bills, and crying in the shower. It can look like loving your child fiercely while also grieving the circumstances of their conception. Both things can be true. You can be both. And here's what Amber Cody reminded me: you don't owe anyone a tidy narrative. You don't owe anyone closure on their timeline. You are allowed to still be healing while also being whole. You are allowed to still carry pain while also carrying joy. You are allowed to be a victim of what happened to you and a survivor of what you're doing about it, all at the same time. Let me tell you what used to happen in this country, and in many places still does. For decades, survivors who had children conceived through rape were forced into continued legal contact with their rapists because those men retained parental rights. Can you imagine? Court ordered visitation, custody disputes, the fear that your assailant could use your child to control you, to punish you, to keep you tethered to the worst moment of your life. Women stood in front of judges and had to explain why the man who raped them shouldn't have access to their child. They had to prove over and over again that they were credible, that they were good mothers, that they deserved protection. And often they lost. Survivors reported ongoing trauma, not just from the rape itself, but from the legal system that refused to see them as both victims and parents deserving of protection. But something started to shift. Advocacy organizations like RAIN, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, began pushing for change. They fought for legislation that would allow courts to restrict or terminate rapists' parental rights based on clear and convincing evidence of rape, even without a criminal conviction. Survivors and advocates walked into state legislatures and shared their stories. They described the ongoing psychological harm of being tethered to a rapist through custody and family court. They made lawmakers sit with the uncomfortable truth that healing from sexual assault is not just about the criminal case. It's about long term safety, parenting, and emotional well being. And slowly, state by state, the laws began to change. As of recent years, the majority of US states have adopted some form of these protections. often called Rape Survivor Child Custody Acts. These laws acknowledge something radical, that you can be both a victim of rape and an active, loving parent making protective, empowered choices. That your trauma does not disqualify you from being a good mother. That the law can and should recognize both your victimization and your strength. These policies validate the lived experience of people like Amber Cody, parents raising children conceived through rape, and affirm that the law is finally catching up to what survivors have always known. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by what you do next. And sometimes what you do next is simply survive, and that is enough. Which brings me to the second thing Amber taught me. Breaking the silence is a powerful first step in breaking generational trauma. When Black women speak openly about sexual violence in our own families, it challenges the secrecy and shame that keep abusers protected and keep us isolated. Speaking out, whether to a therapist, a trusted friend, a pastor, or a podcast audience, is not about reliving the pain. It's about reclaiming your story and protecting the next generation. Research on Black women who experience childhood sexual abuse, often within their families, shows how silence and stigma worsen trauma and how disclosure and culturally competent support can promote healing. Studies show Black women experience high rates of childhood sexual abuse, frequently by known or family perpetrators, but are less likely to disclose due to fear of airing family business, protecting Black men from criminal systems, and distrust of institutions. Many survivors grow up carrying shame and secrecy into adulthood, which affects parenting, relationships, mental health, and self worth. But here's what the research also shows: disclosure, speaking about the abuse, is associated with lower depression and PTSD symptoms when survivors receive validating, supportive responses. Survivors who share their stories in safe settings are more likely to set protective boundaries for their own children, actively working to disrupt generational cycles of abuse. Let me be clear: this is not about airing dirty laundry. This is not about being disloyal. This is about survival. This is about protection. This is about saying, not on my watch, not with my children, not anymore. Community based interventions and trauma informed therapy that center Black women's experiences, such as survivor support groups, church based healing circles, and culturally responsive counseling, help survivors safely break the silence. And survivors who disclosed to trusted people and accessed support reported greater feelings of empowerment, reduced self blame, and improved mental health. Historically, Black women's disclosures of sexual violence have often been dismissed or minimized, both inside and outside the community, rooted in racism and stereotypes about Black women's sexuality. But recent scholarship and activism have pushed to center Black women's voices, emphasizing that healing requires naming what happened and being believed. Increased awareness has led to more specialized services for Black survivors of sexual violence and incest, including culturally informed therapy models and survivor led organizations. Some survivors have become advocates, educators, or healers themselves, using their stories to create safer spaces for others. This body of research demonstrates that breaking the silence, exactly what Amber Cody is doing by telling her story, can be a powerful act of survival and leadership for Black women. It directly supports the message that you are both victim and survivor, and that speaking calmly and honestly about incest and rape is part of protecting your children and others. And here's the third truth Amber Cody embodies: healing is possible even if your life is complicated and messy. Being a Black mother of 6 children with different fathers, navigating trauma, poverty, or judgment does not disqualify you from healing, love, or success. Healing can be slow, non-linear, and imperfect and still be real. You are allowed to seek therapy, support, and joy, even while you are still hurting. Research on Black mothers who are survivors of sexual violence explores how they navigate parenting while still healing and how they work to create safety and different futures for their children. Many Black mothers who survive sexual abuse or rape report ongoing trauma symptoms, flashbacks, anxiety, depression, while also carrying heavy caregiving and economic responsibilities. Some became mothers as teens or in unstable relationships shaped by earlier trauma, facing judgment for having children with multiple fathers and limited support systems. But trauma informed, culturally aware services such as Black led counseling centers, survivor focused parenting programs, and community based doulas support these mothers in processing trauma and building safer parenting practices. Interventions help mothers learn to talk about body safety with their children, set boundaries with unsafe family members, and advocate for their kids in schools, courts, and healthcare settings. Studies show that when Black survivor mothers receive adequate mental health and social support, they report stronger attachment with their children, improved coping skills, and greater confidence in their parenting. Many describe transforming their pain into purposeful protection, becoming highly vigilant about their children's safety, and more open about conversations around consent and boundaries. Black survivor mothers have often navigated overlapping systems of racism, poverty, and gender based violence with very little institutional support. Their stories reveal that healing is not a neat process. It happens while working, parenting, going to court, and managing complex relationships with ex partners and family. Programs centered on Black survivor mothers have reduced trauma symptoms and increased feelings of empowerment and community belonging. Participants often go on to support other mothers, inform program design, or speak publicly about their experiences. This research underscores that being a mother of multiple children with different fathers, while surviving rape and incest, does not make you less than. It situates you within a broader community of Black women doing hard, holy work of breaking cycles and raising children amidst trauma. It supports Amber Cody's central message. You can still build a life, love your children deeply, and move toward healing, even while acknowledging the harm that shaped your story. So here's what I need you to hear. Here's what Amber Cody is teaching us. Here's what the research confirms. Here's what your life already knows to be true. Softness is not weakness. Speaking is not betrayal. Healing does not require perfection. You can be both victim and survivor, both wounded and whole, both tired and triumphant. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to heal. You're allowed to be soft in a world that taught you survival. And you are allowed to do it messily, imperfectly, and on your own timeline. Because here's the truth: you are not less than because of what happened to you. You are not disqualified because your life is complicated. You are not broken beyond repair. You are here. You are surviving. And that in itself is sacred. Now, here's what I need you to do: not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, right to now. First, name your truth somewhere safe. Whether you are a survivor yourself or love someone who is, choose one concrete action. Tell your story or part of it to a trusted person. Call a hotline, schedule a therapy intake, or gently ask a loved one, have you ever gone through something like this? You don't have to carry this alone. And the moment you speak it, you take back a piece of your power. Second, seek or offer real support, not silence. If you are a survivor, explore trauma informed help, therapy, support groups, faith based counseling, or local survivor services. If you are a friend or family member, practice listening without judgment, believing survivors, and helping them access resources instead of pressuring them to be quiet or move on. Silence protects abusers, your voice protects survivors. Third, protect the next generation. Start age appropriate conversations with your children about body safety, boundaries, and consent. And set clear boundaries with unsafe or questionable adults, even if they are family. Especially if they are family, you have the power to interrupt cycles of harm. Use it. Amber Cody is teaching us something we desperately need to learn, that you don't have to wait until you're healed to be whole, that you don't have to be perfect to be powerful, that you can hold trauma and joy in the same hand, that you can be both. So I'm asking you to stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the right moment. Stop waiting to feel ready. The world needs your truth. Your children need your courage. Your community needs your voice. Speak, heal, protect, rest, and know that every single step you take toward softness, toward honesty, toward boundaries, toward yourself is a revolutionary act of love. You are not less than. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are both. And that is more than enough.